Food is fuel for your body, your mind, and definitely your sport. But let's face it, nutrition is confusing, and the expectations on girls and women to be thin and have a six-pack are exhausting. If you've ever been frustrated with your body, confused about nutrition, obsessed with eating healthy, or guilty when you don't, underate, overate, or overtrained, and overwhelmed with all the pressure, then this podcast is for you. Nutrition can be easy. You can take control of it, but it might start with letting go of control by asking for help and making a change. I'm Lindsay Elizabeth Cortez, sports dietitian and owner of Rise Up Nutrition, where I empower female athletes to overcome nutrition concerns and perform at their highest level, to stop being confused by all the mixed or harmful messages, and finally have confidence in your body as a fierce, fit, and fueled female athlete. Thanks for tuning in, fans. I am here today with Dr. Vonda Wright, medical doctor, orthopedic surgeon, founder of Ageless Life, and president of Houston Orthopedics Southeast Division. She has a long and impressive bio, and it is worth reading, so you can strap in and get prepared for this amazing guest that we have. Dr. Vonda Wright draws from her 20 years of research and clinical care of elite athletes and executives alike to provide the actionable steps for making the rest of life the best of life. She harnesses techniques to build physical and mental hardiness, precision longevity, and details a strategic roadmap for making your health span as long as your lifespan in a dynamic edu-training style. Dr. Wright speaks worldwide for influential corporate foundation and association audiences. Dr. Wright is a double-boarded orthopedic sports surgeon, internationally recognized authority on active aging and mobility, and an innovator focused on optimizing personal and professional performance at every age, from the backyard to the ball field to the boardroom, via building physical and mental hardiness and resilience across the lifespan. In addition to her surgical practice, if that wasn't enough, Dr. Wright is a media content expert and regularly contributes to national TV shows including Dr. Oz, The Doctors, and The Today Show. She's frequently quoted in the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, USA Today, and U.S. News and World Report, as well as in magazines such as Maxim Prevention, Fitness, More, Runner's World, Best Life, and Arthritis Today, and numerous online publications. Dr. Wright has written 4 books on topics surrounding active aging and precision longevity. She's created the nonprofit Women's Health Conversations, which ignited a national conversation on women's health. She's the host of the Hot for Your Health podcast. Dr. Wright is married to 2-time Stanley Cup champion Peter Taglianetti and lives in Atlanta with her blended family of 6 children. So thank you again, Dr. Vonda Wright, for joining us on the Female Athlete Nutrition Podcast. I'm super excited to dive into a lot of topics with you today.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me, Lindsay.
Yeah. So I thought we could start with going way back to the beginning of your career and, what made you interested in going into orthopedic surgery as a career field?
Yeah, actually what people, unless they've read my long bio, don't know is that I was actually a cancer nurse first in the 90s. And so that time, taking care of people at really critical junctures in their lives at a very young age made me acutely aware of the value of life and that we are all worth the daily investment in our health. And then when I went back to medical school at 28, you decide your career pathway based on a lot of things. And one of them is how you think. Are you a medicine type problem solver? Are you a surgery type problem solver? And it's just a different way of thinking and how facile you are with your hands. But as I was deciding to be a surgeon instead of a medical doctor, I had to choose between things like, I thought maybe I'll be a breast reconstruction surgeon or maybe I'll be a head and neck surgeon. But then I was reintroduced to orthopedic surgery. And what we get to do is amazing. We get to take care of people from the minute of their birth to the minute of their death. And our goal is to give you back the life you envision. And so when people ask me, why are you an orthopod and what motivates you? I take what I learned as a very young cancer nurse about the value of life, and I pair it with my mechanical skills and my surgeon thinking. And I realize that as an orthopedic surgeon with a toolbox of mobility, that by saving mobility, what I'm actually doing is saving lives, because there are 33 chronic diseases that most of us die from in this country that are put together in a category called sedentary death syndrome. It's everything you would imagine, from brain health to physical health. And do you know what positively affects all 33 diseases? Yes, it's mobility, right? The contraction of skeletal muscle. And so if you have hypertension, you'll take a pill for that, or heart disease, a pill for that, or diabetes, several pills for that. But one pill, one intervention of mobility touches all of those diseases. So, it is the truth that by saving someone's mobility, by making you walk again, whether you're 10 or 100, giving you your shoulder function back, I not only let you remain active, but, if you're an adult, I send you back to work. You can support your family. You don't degrade into a blob of low lean muscle mass. You get to be strong forever. So, that's plenty of motivation for me to be an orthopedic surgeon.
I love it. And you're reminding me of a professor that I had in college, actually, who in our exercise physiology class, he, was phrasing that exercise is your prescription to chronic health concerns.
It is.
Instead of medicine, not to disregard medicine, there's a time and place for that, but that exercise can be the prescription to healing so many of these issues. And you're very much saying that.
It is. And more than just formal exercise, but any mobility matters, whether you're just getting up from your chair 25 times a day or taking your Zoom calls by doing a wall squat. All of that counts, right? So yeah, there's a whole movement, exercise is medicine, and we've expanded it to mobility as medicine.
Yeah. And I actually like that a lot better too, because the concept of exercise can be quite overwhelming for many people, especially if they're in a state of lacking mobility in the first place. To make that jump to exercise would be too far. So just focusing on mobility. And then on the flip side, a lot of people are already exercising, but maybe they're not mobile. Maybe they're not doing it, in the best way possible. Right?
Well, it's interesting when we think about the difference between mobility and exercise. It's more than just semantics. It's more than just words, right? So when you look at the populations in the world that live the longest, there's this book that I talk about all the time called Blue Zones, written by a social scientist named Dan Buettner. He went all over the world looking for the groups of people who live the longest and what they have that the rest of us don't. And so he found 9 groups around the country that he drew blue circles around. That's why this is called Blue Zones. They live an average of 114 years, and they all have in common 5 pillars of health, one of which is mobility, not exercise. They're not exercisers, but they are movers. Many of them have simple agrarian jobs, meaning they're out walking with their sheep. They're walking, doing labor type jobs. They're just moving all the time. And listen, they live 114 years without any kind of gym equipment. So that just augments my thought that it's what we do in every moment that matters, not necessarily the 20, 30, 60 minutes we spend hauling gym equipment around. So, that's what's really shaped my approach to mobility. The other thing that shaped it, even though you and I are both sitting right now, the fact of the matter is when you look at our bodies, we are designed to move. All of our strongest muscles are below our belly buttons. I believe that form follows function in nature. If we were designed to be sedentary, we would honestly be shaped like a mushroom with a broad base and no ability to locomote. But that's not how we're designed. Look at your own body in the mirror. If you have any doubt that you were designed to move, look at your butt and your legs. Those were designed to keep you moving.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Form follows function. So as an orthopod, you are saving lives by helping people with movement and mobility. And that helps. I think I I read on your website just a great statistic that, and you can correct me on this, 30% of health concerns or 30% of your health is dictated by genetics. And what you do is you spin that to mean that means 70% is in our control with our lifestyle choices. Did I get that right?
You did. When I originally started talking about mobility and aging, I would use that statistic all the time. Aging is and movement is so hopeful because honestly, you control 70% of what happens to you by the lifestyle choices you make every moment. You have 1,440 minutes a day to make decisions that are in your favor, right? Since I started talking about that statistic, the field of epigenetics has come to the fore, which epigenetics is the science of how our lifestyle choices actually affect the way our genes are expressed, right? So running, for instance, turns on genes that build lean muscle mass. Eating broccoli turns on genes that lead us towards life, not death. So some people now estimate that, yes, our genetics, what we get from our moms and our dads, accounts for 30%, but their real influence is only about 10% because that puts 90% of how we live and age into the choices category, which makes it the hopeful category. So it's an even more positive message than even we began talking about.
Yeah, that's incredibly positive to know that your health really is in your control. It's within your choices. Now, Dr. Vonda Wright, I have to think about some of my clients in my head where they can take this to an extreme. And
Sure.
sometimes
That's right.
take a
That's
little
right.
too far when you said there's, 1,440 minutes a day and we're talking about the power of movement and mobility. I mean, I work with some clients who take that to the extreme and don't even allow themselves to sit down ever. Or, they are high level athletes and they are training 3 hours a day. And then they're also thinking, but I have to get my steps in, but I have to go for a walk, but I have to use a stand up desk. How do you think that the potential of over movement might affect us in this aging process as well?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you brought that up because there are 5 pillars of health. Sometimes people add more, and only one of them is mobility. Another one is smart nutrition, which you talk about all the time. Another one is sleep and restoration, right? So any machine, if you think about your body as a machine, any machine doing the same motion without maintenance day in, day out, whether it's the human machine or whether it's your car machine or whether it's a gear or widget machine, is going to break down. And so I am also a big proponent of sleep and restoration, right? The best athletes in the world periodize their mobility, meaning they work really hard and then they rest really hard. They work really hard. And it's not only a daily process, but it's over a period of 6 or 8 weeks, right? You probably work with nutritional periodization for your clients sometimes because our body requires restoration, something I talk about a lot. And next week, in my own content productivity, it's all about, I'm calling it sleep week because, I was a orthopedic and medical. I was a medical student first and then an orthopedic resident for 6 years and then a fellow for a year and then a new mother for 2 years. So all told, there was about 14 years that I did not control my own sleep. And I saw how that affected my own body such that now I protect my sleep. And so when I talk about sleep and restoration, I want everybody to know that just because you think you're passed out and don't know what's going on during the night, your body is not passed out. Sleep is an incredibly metabolically active time. Think about it as refilling the cup, whether it's your mental cup, you're processing your memories, your cellular cup, your cells are rejuvenating, they're pushing out the toxins, they're pulling in the nutrients, your muscles and body are healing. We need that sleep and restoration. We need that periodization of mobility to perform at our optimum, right? Performance is just not doing more all the time. Performance is balancing the activity with the rest, with the nutrition and the hydration, Our bodies are homeostatic, meaning our body likes balance. It's the way we're created. So I love that you brought that up because more is not always better. Smart is better.
Mm-hmm.
Periodization is better. Appropriate amounts of mobility and rest is better. So sometimes I'm sure a lot of your job is retraining the mindset.
Yes. Which as a dietitian, I've had to train myself on how to train others on their mindset. But yes, you're right. And so, I think that was beautifully said, Vonda, of the 5 pillars, and that as important as mobility and movement is, so is the recovery and sleep. Nutrition being another one. Can we jump ahead? What are the other 2?
So we've talked about mobility.
Yes.
You've got nutrition covered. Socialization. We are social beings. So social scientists will tell us that when the digital world was created, I am not a digital native. All my children are digital natives. And once people started being digital natives, meaning growing up with computers and technology in their hands all the time, there was a thought that we would be more connected than ever. Social scientists now tell us that we are lonely in a crowd. We get lots of input, but we get no true connection, right? So if we go back to the blue zones and look at those populations that live the longest, there's a population I love talking about all the time. It's the Okinawa blue zone, where groups of women not only live long, but they are put into little social groups before kindergarten. And they go to kindergarten together and school together, and they get out and get married at the same time. They raise their children together. So now as they're aged, they still come together in their tight-knit social groups to be fed in the same way they're fed nutritionally. They're fed socially by each other. So we all need that kind of connection. And now post-COVID more than ever, I think what it taught us is that you just crave. I'm an introvert. I crave the opportunity to sit across from people. So that's number 3. Number 4 is detoxifying. Listen, thank God for Richard Carmona, the 17th Surgeon General of the United States, who during his tenure as Surgeon General banned indoor smoking, because we have changed the health of this country. But now we need to move on to other toxins. And I'm big right now talking about endocrine toxins that come from things like plastic. I have another colleague. I'm so lucky to be surrounded by brilliant women and brilliant doctors. There's another doctor. You may want to have her on your podcast named Dr. Manasa Mantravati. She is a pediatrician and a mom of 3 children. She founded a company called Ahimsa Health because when she got out of her fellowship, the American Pediatric Academy came out with their position statement on endocrine toxins, which are things like all the toxins that come out of the plastic that is ubiquitous in this country now, such that every baby who's breastfeeding, if you look at breast milk, contains plastic toxins. And if you and I went and had our blood drawn, we would be circulating plastic toxins, which change our hormone expression, which change our bodies. Pediatricians say in the same way that lead did in the last generation. If you look at lead data, when we eliminated lead from our drinking water and our water supply, the average IQ of children in this country went up 7 points, right? Mm-hmm. So all the childhood diseases and the body mass problems that you probably deal with, and some of the mental illnesses and allergies that children are having, are due to the toxins in our environment that change our endocrine system. So look how passionate I'm getting, and it's not even my subject. I'm a mobility doctor, but I'm so into this toxin right now. So mobility, smart nutrition, eliminating toxins, social interaction, sleep and restoration. Those are the 5 that I try to focus on because, gosh, there's so much to talk about. But if we could make small steps in each one of those areas, we would be doing great.
Absolutely. And, inspired me to go revisit some of these endocrine disruptors. I went to a nutrition conference a few years ago that people were speaking on this, and I think at that time it was really my first exposure to this because it wasn't directly nutrition. We're talking about things like plastics, but it does play a role in your nutrition, in your health, in your hormones, and also those plastics, a lot of them are in our food supply too, right?
Oh,
Like that's where we're getting them from,
everything
a
is
lot of them.
packaged in plastic.
Exactly.
I mean, how do we get around it? Well, I bought my daughter a glass water bottle, which lasted about 6 days before it shattered. So you know what? Maybe stainless steel but I mean, there are things we can do. And I'm always encouraged, Lindsay, because look at what we did with recycling in this country.
Oh, yeah.
When I was growing up, I grew up on a farm in Kansas. I'm in my 50s. What did we do with our trash? We carried it out to the barrel in the backyard and we caught it on fire.
Wow.
Right? So now every child, probably all of my millennial children can tell me, oh no, mom, it goes in the blue bucket or the green bucket, or this is not recyclable. And I mean, I get preached at all the time by my own children because we did a great job re-educating an entire generation about the environment, sustainability, which bucket it goes into. And I believe, Lindsay, that if we pay attention to mobility and toxins in the way we did with recycling, we can change the health of this country in one generation. And I think that we continue to have generational problems with body mass index and childhood disease is because we have not taken the same systematic approach that we did with something like recycling, for goodness sakes,
And the smoking example you brought up too. I do remember being as a child having restaurants that were still split.
That's right.
Left side was non-smoking, right side was the smoking side, and that's completely gone now. Thank goodness. I wouldn't be able to handle that.
This town that I'm just moved to Orlando to build a new practice, and this town that I live in, or I'm going to live in, called Lake Nona, is not just no indoor smoking. There's no smoking in the city limits such that you can't find a ashtray or, one of those outside receptacles. There's no smoke shack, which is what we used to call it outside of hospitals where people would go smoke outside. It's just, the city has taken a hard stand on we are not going to kill each other this way.
Wow. Amazing. So you're so passionate about mobility, movement. Another one of your passions is specifically applying that to like women's health as well. You're the CEO and founder of the Women's Health Conversations, a health education company reaching millions of women, making health decisions, live events going on. Can you tell us a bit about that and your advocacy work for, specifically women's health?
Yes. And I love that you give me the opportunity because women are rising now. And thank goodness there are more people screaming from the mountaintops that we are 51% of the population and we deserve a voice. And I tell young women, because I've lived through it as a pioneer in multiple fields, if you want something, ask for it. And, I have to tell you, my millennial daughters and employees, you guys got it down. You are asking in a way that we never did. But in 2012, I founded Women's Health Conversations, and that's the website, Women's Health Conversations, because I understood that women make 80% of all the healthcare decisions in this country for ourselves. And everyone we touch, whether it's within our own households, within our own workplace, in our gyms, in the grocery store, because not a day goes by if you're a woman that somebody doesn't ask you, oh, who do you go to for this? Or what product do you like? And so I thought at that time in 2012, women do not realize our power, number one. And number two, even today, when you say women's health, people assume it has to do with what's below your bikini line.
Yes.
And fertility. But I am here to tell you, women and the men that love them or the people that love other women, women's health goes from the top of your hair to the bottom of your feet. It involves policy. It is products. It is not just fertility, people. And so we started Women's Health Conversations knowing that. And it started small and it very quickly grew to events for 1,000 women where we talked about everything from resilience to mindset to cardiac health to, we approached fertility in a different way. I didn't want to just talk about having babies. I wanted to talk about, because that gets lots of play. I wanted to talk about women's health and fertility as policy, right? So I started doing research with groups of millennial women just to find out what do they really wanted from healthcare. We actually published an amazing series of 7 blogs on my website, Dr. Vonda Wright. People, if you want to know what millennials are thinking, you should go there and read about it because millennials' thoughts on healthcare is very different from the Xers, which is what I am, or the baby boomers. But what they told me about reproductive health is that it's all about policy. Who's paying for our birth control? Why can't we get time off? Why are mothers so burdened with trying to work and take care of people at the same time, right? They wanted to talk about sex not only as reproduction, but pleasure. Why aren't we talking about that more? Well, let me tell you, the menopausal women are talking all about that now in our podcasts and addressing what happens in perimenopause and beyond. So you can hear in my voice that when I talk about women's health, do not define it for me. Look at my little crooked finger. If you could see me now, this is how I point. My family makes fun of me. Do not tell me what women's health is. I will tell you as a woman trying to be healthy that it is circumferential. It is everything we do from body to brains to bliss. And that's what Women's Health Conversations is all about. So out of Women's Health Conversations, we spurred events for millennials called Hot for Your Health, where we talk about health technology. I have my own podcast called Hot for Your Health, which is sometimes it's about straight health. Sometimes it's about policy. Sometimes I just bring on my smart, savvy medical friends because I just want to have a great conversation like this, right? Just to talk around a table. And I think it's important. And I'm so glad that now in 2022, 10 years later, that I'm not alone on a mountaintop screaming that, we deserve more attention than we've ever had. And I got to tell you, Lindsay, my orthopedic friends, which are 94% men, could not figure it out. They're like, why aren't you only talking about fracture morbidity? You're an orthopod. I'm like, well, I do talk about fracture morbidity and the fact that when you fall down in your 70s, 50% of you never return to pre-fall function and 30% of you die. But I also I just talked about this yesterday. Somebody wanted to know what to do across the lifespan. And for 30-year-olds, my biggest message is you got to build better bones because you're in the time of your life where your bones will still lay down density. The rest of your life, you're just trying not to lose it, right? So there's so much to talk about, from sex to mindset to building better bones to believing, Lindsay, if I could get the whole country to believe that you are worth the daily investment of your health, we would all be better. Because you can imagine, I've been in medicine 30 years. I have tried the motivational method of being the tough coach. I have tried the scare tactic method. You're going to die if you don't do this. I have tried I'm going to come alongside you and hold your hand. I mean, I taught fitness classes myself twice a week for many years, and that helps so many people, but it's unsustainable. There's only one me. And here's what I've decided, Lindsay. Until people believe in their heart and soul that they are worth the daily investment in their health and are willing to come alongside me and squeeze the life out of life, nothing will ever change. Until you move you, nothing will ever change, because you can only be so externally driven. It's not about the little black dress. It's not about looking good when you go back to your high school reunion. It's not about anything except how you want to feel in every moment. And I can tell you that it's easier when you're younger, but even at my age, 54, that because I have made decisions about how much sugar I eat, how much I move, how much social interaction, how much time I am protecting my sleep, that I feel amazing most days. But I know that when I am not making those good decisions, I feel like crap. I'm just going to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. I've lived both ways, and I choose to feel amazing, and it takes some conscious decision making to do that.
Hmm. Vonda, if you haven't just inspired everybody who's listening, then I don't know what else to say. I'm over here scribbling notes. You are worth the daily investment of your health is just really resonating with me. And because it is an investment, like you said, you just said it's a choice for you to do these things. And when you make that choice, you feel amazing. And you're worth that. Everybody should feel amazing, but it does take a little bit of an intentional effort, but it's worth it and you're worth it. And that's just wonderful. I want to go back a few other notes I'm scribbling down over here. I just want to highlight again that the little statistic of women make 80% of health decisions. I think that the way you phrased that was really interesting because it got me thinking like, yeah, for all the women with children, they're kind of most often, I don't want to discredit some men that take on that role, but most often the women are maybe the grocery shopping or planning the dinners and they're buying what cleaning products go in the house and you're doing that for yourself. I'm even making the health decisions for my dogs, everything.
For everyone.
For everyone. So that's interesting to just kind of women's health is impacting yourself, but so many people around you. So that's a really interesting way to think of it. Okay, fans, I'm going to pause this conversation to let you ladies know about the Rise Up Nutrition Coaching Program. We have a lot of ways that we can help clients here at Rise Up Nutrition, and this is one of 2 amazing opportunities to get the direct help you need. With our team of sports dietitians, this program helps adult female athletes fuel to perform without strict dieting. How good does that sound? Finally, you will understand nutrition for day-to-day training, eat intuitively with foods that you love, and be race day or competition day ready with energy and confidence. We have more details about what's included and how we can help on our website, riseupnutritionrun.com/group coaching. Links are in the show notes. But I quickly want to share what a few of our clients have said about their experiences in this program so far. Sophie, a trail runner, says, quote, I really encourage anyone who has struggled with eating and lives an active lifestyle to consider this program because it's so hard to know if you're fueling properly without someone on the outside looking in from an objective point of view. I now feel confident in my food choices and more than anything, confident that I can actually eat more and that it will only benefit my health and my training. Sarah, another one of our clients and triathlete, says, quote, for anyone that is struggling with diet culture, a history of disordered eating, and is trying to learn how to eat and fuel, this is a program they should strongly consider. I've been active my whole life and trying to fit a mainstream diet has never worked. In fact, it's created more problems than good. Working with Rise Up Nutrition has made things very simple. So again, if you are an adult female athlete that wants to perform better without strict dieting, click that link in our show notes to apply to the Rise Up Nutrition Coaching Program, and we would be thrilled to have you join us. Until then, we will get back to the conversation.
Well, and I want women to own that, because if someone is out there thinking, that's not true, people are pretty involved. Well, it may be true, but stop and think who made the last 10 decisions in your house, or I'm married to an amazing man who is more than 50% of our household responsibilities, if I'm honest about it. But the truth of the matter, even in a very, very partnered type guy that he is, he doesn't go to the doctor unless I make the appointment, right?
Right.
Or it affects his golf game, or it affects his sex life. Anything that has to do with what inconveniences him personally. Otherwise, I'm making the appointments, or I'm saying you have got to call about that. And I think that my story is not unusual. It's just the way we are.
Oh, beautiful. And, Vonda, hitting on athletes more, I think, because we've talked a lot just like overall health and chronic health and women's health, but you've worked with very elite high level athletes in your career and doing, working as an orthopedic surgeon with them. I think I have written in front of me, Georgia State University, University of Pittsburgh, elite ballet company, World Cup rugby teams, pro ice hockey teams, and more. Are there any commonalities when treating high level athletes and injuries you see, or how you approach their care that might be different than non-athletes?
Well, there are definitely differences in terms of intensity, specificity, high level athletes from dawn till dawn, 24 hours a
Yes.
day. Their lives are planned in terms of all these areas of health. But here's the thing I wanted to emphasize. No matter if I'm taking care of all these elite people you just mentioned, or I'm taking care of peewees who are still playing, who are just getting on the ice with their little bitty skates, or kids playing in their backyards or ball fields, or even performers in the boardroom. And I'm fortunate to join a community that where my practice is going to be, that has a philosophy. It's called the Lake Nona Performance Center. My office is right in the middle of a performance center. The philosophy is that everyone is a performer. So when you ask me what's different between the elite athletes and the peewee athletes, actually the components of how I treat peewees is the same as I treat the highest level professionals. It's just the measure of it, the intensity of it. So whether, if you're an adult, if you're an adult onset exerciser, meaning that's what I call people who have never gotten off the couch in their whole lives, but now they're going to do it because maybe they listened to this podcast today. Or maybe they're once upon a timers, right? They're still talking about high school, even though they're 50 years old. Or they're peewees, or they're professionals. It doesn't matter. We are still going to be talking about protecting our sleep. We're going to be talking about smart nutrition and what you need for the goals, right? You may be showing people how they can get in 10,000 calories a day because they're burning, 10,000 calories a day, or how to replace their fluids ounce for ounce so they don't lose weight and recover, right? Those are some of the same principles that we talk to mere mortals about. So, you probably wanted me to say, well, what do you do with the pro hockey players that were in your building at the UPMC Lemieux? Well, those guys are so special. They get their own chef 24 hours a day. You know what? That chef, and we were so fortunate that chef decided that he would then be the chef for the buildings. It was an amazing performance building, but in our little cafe for the public, it was the same chef that took care of the penguins, that took care of the businessmen that came in to have their coffee in the morning. So I don't draw a distinction between where you are on the spectrum of lifelete versus athlete. It's just how you apply the same principles of smart nutrition, mobility, rest, socialization, and detoxifying.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think you said exactly what I maybe wanted you to say because I agree with you, and in my specialization of nutrition, I'm saying the same principles over and over and over again, whether I'm dealing with, an 18-year-old struggling with disordered eating, a collegiate athlete, or a master's athlete who's also concerned about her cholesterol levels. It's the same principles. And then it's just the individualization, the slight tweaking, the, dialing up the knob, dialing back the knob on certain things. But it's nothing drastically different in how you approach these topics. So excellent. One other question I have for you, Vonda, is this is silly, but how the heck do you do it all? You're a surgeon.
I love it. People ask me that all the time.
Yeah, surgeon, wife, mother, CEO, founder, speaker, author. We haven't even talked about all your books yet.
Yeah.
How do you do
today,
it all?
It's popping up on Facebook. Today is the 10th anniversary of one of my favorite books that I released called Guide to Thrive, which is a strategic plan for health. So I can't believe it's been that long. And that was my second book. But so how do I do it all? Well, philosophically, number one, I've been given a really high capacity, and I own that. Sometimes women are tempted to say, oh no, I'm not that good. I can't. But you know what? Own who you were made to be, right? You do a lot of things. I do a lot of things. I pass no judgment on people who can only do one at a time. But I have come in my old age to own that this is who I was made to be. And so I have a high capacity. But in that, I do not do work-life balance. I do work-life integration. So while I am on the beach and I've gotten into the cold surf and I've gotten on a paddleboard with my kids, I'll come off the beach and I will get on my phone and do a bunch of work stuff because you know what? That settles my mind, right? So for me, work-life integration matters. Now I'm going to tell you about my sabbatical in 2 minutes, but
Okay.
So on a daily basis, I integrate. I don't spend this block or this block. Number one. Number two, I delegate. I am not of the opinion that I have to do everything myself. So I surround myself with amazing people who are better at what they do than I am.
Mm-hmm.
I come up with a strategic vision. I say, this is where we're going. These are our goals. Now you're an expert at this. You do this. So for instance, I do a lot of my own social media, but for Women's Health Conversations and for my new membership group, which is called Ageless Life, I'm going to plug it here. AJLES period life. It's the phonetic spelling of ageless. AJLES period life, which is a membership talking about all these things for women 40, 50, 60 and beyond. I set the strategic vision and then I hire the tech people to help me. Now that applies in my personal life. Like time is the only thing I don't control. Like I can't get it back. I can't create it, but I can get it back if I delegate. So do you know what young women do coming out in their first careers is they try to work and they try to take care of other people and they try to clean their own houses. Do you know what my sons do? No. My millennial sons, the first time they have $2 to rub together, they hire somebody to clean their house.
Yes.
Holy cow. Why does it take women so long? That buys back 4 hours a week for me.
Oh my gosh. I just have to share with you. Last week was the first time ever I hired a professional cleaner to clean my kitchen, clean my oven. And I had so much I wanted to do it like a month ago and I didn't because I was like, I can just do it myself. And then a month later, the oven just got dirtier and dirtier. And I was like, just do it. And I had this weird guilt about it, but it was like, this is I have other priorities.
That's right. You know what I call it? What do I call it? I can't remember. Time is money or listen, I don't have to be an expert at cleaning my kitchen. I can clean my kitchen and I do clean my kitchen. But if you and I can free up a few people today to let it go, it does not mean that you are any less worthy. Just somebody needs a job. Do your social duty and hire somebody, right? So that, frame it that way. So I integrate, I delegate, I buy my time back, which means I'm more sane, and I don't know how I do it all. It's just who I am.
Well, I love it. And it's inspiring. I don't know how many of my listeners can resonate with me, but I'm an entrepreneur starting out. I've had this business for almost 3 years now. So the first 2 years was all me, all on me. And I am embracing the delegation this year, and I've hired employees and I have an assistant. I have another dietitian. And so that concept you were saying of surrounding yourself with people, I always tell my, the other dietitian who works with me, Jenna, I'm always like, you're better than me. That's why I hired you. So this is our mission. This is our plan. This is our vision, kind of what you said. And then she's carrying it out and she's amazing. So Jenna, I hope you're listening. Thank you. She's amazing.
It's a joy in my career to, even in my non-social media career, in my orthopedic career, in doing what we just talked about, I hire the best people and then I give them opportunities to rise in their career. No one stays with me for 20 years because they elevate themselves so much. Like, I thank you for the opportunity to be a program director because now I just found a better job. I'm like, that is what I'm here for.
Yeah.
To elevate you.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. So you just really embracing, I think, leadership. You're a CEO, you're a founder of so many different things, just a leader in the field of health and not just bone health and orthopedics, but so much beyond that. And it carries over into your life and how you approach life too. So beautiful. And one other thing, I'm kind of totally switching gears here, but I did want to hit on, you have 4 books. You mentioned one of them and the 10-year anniversary of that one, the Thrive, Guide to Thrive.
Yes.
And I know that you're working on another book, which should be coming out soon. I think it's called Parents Playbook for Raising Healthy Athletes.
Yes. So I have partnered with a remarkable sports surgeon. We're colleagues. We both come from the University of Pittsburgh. His name is Mark Miller. And you know what? Because of the way youth sports are in this country, where we're putting our 2-year-olds on a soccer field and keeping them there, right? And forcing early specialization and year-round play of the same sports. That is not the way the pro athletes of the past were raised. You know, even some of the best hockey players, we're a hockey family, so I always refer to hockey. Some of the best athletes in the country, the hockey players in the country, they didn't specialize until they were in high school. They chose, right? Now we're asking 7-year-olds to specialize. So what that does is it has profound effects on lifelong injury. We're changing growth plates. We're changing shapes of bones. We're getting kids. 70% of kids quit playing organized sports by the time they're 13 because they're freaking burnt out. Parents, what are we doing? So I call it skilling, which I borrowed actually from Gary Gray, who's a physical therapist in Michigan. We're skilling our kids to death. We're teaching them so many skills. We're not just letting them play. So Mark Miller and I have actually finished this book. We've renamed it Roadmap to Raising Healthy Athletes.
Okay.
And we're hoping to have it out in January. And anybody interested can just email me and we'll pre-sell you a copy. Email me via my website, Dr. Vonda Wright. You can get a hold of me there. But it's just all about, when do you specialize? What is smart nutrition? I had my sports nutritionist write a chapter on even what to put in the dirty old gym bag just so that you're eating well, right? We talk about the top 10 acute injuries, the top 10 chronic injuries. It's just parents need this kind of information from real sports doctors. I am a sports orthopod. Mark Miller is a sports orthopod. And we're both parents. I've raised a gaggle of healthy athletes. They were really amazing Division I athletes and high school athletes, and so has Mark. So it'll be a great handbook. And if you want to get on the list for an early copy, just email me at drvondawright.com. There's a place to do it. But another book that I'm really excited about, Lindsay, which is really hard for me to write because it's a personal book. It's not a fact book like Guide to Thrive or Fitness After 40. I'm writing a book called Behind the Mask, Lessons Learned on the, quote, imperfect road to success, because I am only one of 6% of orthopedic women in the country. And when I started being an orthopedic surgeon, there were only 3%. So the good news, we've doubled in my career span.
Still such a small amount though, but you've doubled.
We're not a critical mass. This book is almost like a memoir, telling stories from my career, going back as far as being a cancer nurse and what I learned about life and death. And it's a little hard for me to write because it's so personal, but you know what? It's going to come out this year. It's putting out the book proposal now. And I think from the perspective of one of the 6%, it'll be interesting because my experience, although framed as an orthopedic surgeon, is not unusual for women in STEM, so watch for that, Behind the Mask.
Oh, that's going to be on my reading list. I think I have a lot to learn from you and your career path. And, mine personally is very different. Nutrition is a very female dominated field, but the specialization of sports nutrition is not. I was actually just talking to Jenna,
your partner,
my partner in crime over here at Rise Up Nutrition. I was just talking to her yesterday about that. We were just kind of having a chit chat conversation about our past experiences. I've worked with special operations, all male dominated, football teams, Division I football teams, male dominated. She's worked with NHL teams, male dominated, and just our experiences in that, and some amazing who have shaped us into being, the leaders that we are, and some also very, very challenging. So yes, Vonda, I will look for that book. I'm excited for that to come out on a very personal level. And I think that the roadmap to raising healthy athletes can be incredibly helpful to our listeners. And you mentioned too, just the skilling of not specializing too early. This is such an interesting trend that's been going on over the last 10, 20 years probably of sports specialization at a really young age. And it does lead to burnout. And I've heard many other professionals and physical therapists and strength coaches kind of warn of that as well. So I think this will be a really helpful book in the mobility movement training side of things, as well as the nutrition tips and the kind of holistic approach that you bring to all of your work as well. So we'll keep an eye out for both of those books, as well as checking out your other books that are already published, which are wonderful. So Vonda, thank you so much. This has just been, I don't even know how many notes I wrote down.
We'll have to do it again, Lindsay. We'll circle back.
Yeah. We'll circle back. It was wonderful. Vonda, if you have time, I always like to ask some just fun questions at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Vonda, if there's one food you could eat every single day for the rest of your life and never get sick of it, what would it be?
So I do this. So I get to eat a lot of whole foods, but I will eat dark chocolate every day.
Yeah. So dark chocolate every day. You'll never get sick of it. Vonda, what is your favorite sport to participate in yourself?
Oh, well, you know what? I was a ballet dancer, and I saw early that I was never going to be good enough to make a living at it. So I did it until college, and then I pivoted and got a career in medicine. But if I could have been a professional dancer, that would have just been a dream. Yeah. So now I went into just running, and now I do running and cross training because it's best for my body just to get on a rower or a climber as well as just run. So that's what I do now.
Yeah, great. What about as a spectator? Is it hockey? Do you have a favorite sport to watch?
I do love hockey. I'm married to a pro hockey player, and he could care less whether I liked hockey or not. But honestly, but I do love to watch hockey, and listen, I've been on a sideline my whole life. So I love to watch a variety of sports. I'm fascinated by the footwork of elite soccer players, I'm fascinated by a lot of things. But do you know what I take care of now that I don't get to talk about a lot that is just remarkable? I've been a Division I football doc my whole career. So those are some great athletes. But do you know who rivals those guys or beats those guys in toughness is rugby players.
Oh, yeah.
Rugby is football without stopping, without pads. They're intense. Their body type is amazing. They're about 6 feet tall. They weigh about 190-ish pounds. So they're just great athletes and they're fun. So, actually the first weekend in October, I'm going to Memphis to take care of rugby sevens league. So, it's just fun to take care of these guys, and it's a little traumatic. So there's some true ortho going on.
Yeah. It's an intense sport all around. So I would imagine you have a lot of work to do with them.
Yeah. But you know what? I would not be a sports doc if I did not love sports, the mindset of people who are willing to push themselves beyond what we mere mortals believe we're capable of. They're really, truly people to admire. For sure.
And along with that, I always like to highlight if there's a female athlete in, professionally or just in your personal life that you really admire for being a leader or an inspiration in women's sports, who would that be and why?
Oh, well, let's see. You're going to make me call out. I should have been thinking about this. Well, I'll give you, there's so many women that are doing amazing things. There was a picture lately that I just loved, and I don't know these women. I just loved it, and I could relate to it so much. There were pictures of two of the World Cup soccer team who were holding their daughters, talking in the middle of the field, right? They're toddlers. And I loved in the Olympics when the track and field athletes were bringing their children, coupling with major sports brands to provide childcare. Because as an orthopedic surgeon, my youngest child is 14, and I would routinely strap her on and bring her to the hospital to round with me, strap her on and bring her to the football field while I was just observing practice. This child has been at work with me every day. In fact, when she was 2, she described football as man fall down, which is pretty accurate from a 2-year-old's perspective. So I really appreciate all those women. But if you make me call out one woman that I know that has been at the pinnacle of her career and now is leading other people in her sport. It's Susan Jaffe, who is she's America's ballerina. She was at the pinnacle of her career with the ABT for decades. And when she retired, she became a leader in ballet companies, and she's currently the artistic director of the Pittsburgh Ballet. And I've had the privilege of getting to know her as a person. So someone who can embody power and grace and have an enduring career, which sets a standard in this country and now is leading other people to fulfill their own dreams of being professional dancers. I'm getting chills just talking about it. I truly admire her pathway and that she's a woman and has done amazing things.
Yeah. Well, Susan Jaffe, thank you for giving her, raising her up, elevating her, as I think is another kind of amazing thing that you do in the work you do, is elevating other women as well. So Vonda, thank you so much for all of this information and knowledge and inspiration that you've provided us with today. It's been such a pleasure to have you on. I will definitely include links to your website and, your books and everything that we mentioned in the show notes as well.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and congratulations on all your great work.
Thank you. I really hope you enjoyed that episode, and thanks for listening. But before I let you go, I have free resources that you can have access to right away, right now, so that you can start fueling your body as a fierce, fit, and fueled female athlete. First, I have your Red S recovery race. If you've ever wondered if you might be struggling with Red S, curious to learn more, or know you have Red S and are looking to recover fast, then you can head to www.riseupnutritionrun.com/RedS and download the Red S recovery race. See how you place and figure out the next steps to recovery. Plus, while there, I have a few other great resources for you, including 3 nutrition secrets that every elite athlete swears by, and access to our private Facebook community, Female Athlete Nutrition. So again, to gain access to all of this, head to riseupnutritionrun.com/RedS. That's /REDS. And you can gain access and get the help you need fast. Too many girls and women and female athletes struggle with nutrition, but you don't have to any longer. Become fierce, fit, and fueled. Links in the show notes, and I'll see you next time.